All right, now back with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is Perry French. Let me remind you a little bit about Perry's background. He is the brand territory manager for Srixon, Cleveland Golf, and XXIO Golf. And along with that, he's also a weekly partner, like you just heard me say, with my good friend Matthew Lawrence over on Backspin Golf. It's my regular weekly Sunday morning, 8:03 a.m. tee time. You can hear Perry sharing his thoughts, his playing lessons, talking about the equipment and all those sorts of things. It's a really great show, as you guys tell me we talk about all the time. First segment, outstanding with Perry. He's also a Class A teaching professional. I'm very grateful he was patient with me, and he's joining with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Perry, thanks for coming back on the show.
Good evening, Chris. How we doing? Good to be back.
I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Perry. So, Perry, I have to imagine you guys are going crazy with Shane Lowery's win there at the Open Championship. Everyone with associated with the Srixon brand has got to be all smiles, just like he was when he won the tournament. Oh. Talk about what's been going on with you guys since that victory.
What a great way for the summer major championship season to end with us having a 4-day foray of Shane Lowery putting on a pretty strong exhibition for all 4 days, and the weather changes on an outstanding layout, which was super challenging as we saw for the players, and for him to pull off a win, obviously from the Republic of Ireland, and being that it was where it was. I mean, in Northern Ireland, he was as close to a Rory McIlroy win as you could expect from a homeland scenario. So it was great from that aspect, and from us, from a brand. Shane, as it was, playing alongside another brand ambassador and JB Holmes, who unfortunately had a pretty failing weekend, but mostly on Sunday. We won't get into that. But Shane was able to he's really been a strong, long time, player of ours from when he first came out to play. And even actually when he won the Irish Open as an amateur, he was playing the Srixon ball. So those are a lot of things that Shane has as history with us. And it was great to see him pull off. It really was just a win that was for us monumental, just because we had such great exposure. He drove the ball exceptionally well with our new 585 driver. He had the 2 and 3 utility UH85 irons that were, noticed by all the players. Who since that event called me, what's that club he's got in the bag there? What was he using? Putting the ball in play. So it's really fun. And obviously you don't always get that. There's only 4 of those a year, right? 4 companies get to claim some type of major, championship. And it really came at a great time. We had just finished up our summer sales meeting, so we're launching some new products here in the fall. So I got a lot of ammo when I get into that pro shop to talk about what great things are happening. And the neat thing about Shane's product, 12 of the 14 clubs that he plays that are ours. He plays an Odyssey putter and a TaylorMade 3, but the other 12 clubs are all ours, including the golf ball, of course. And you can buy those today. Anybody who wants to play what Shane Lowery had in his bag can buy that club, customized to their specs. So that's a pretty neat thing as well.
No doubt. And I got to imagine, right? We're going to be seeing his smiling face on a lot of different Srixon things coming up here over the next few months, right?
Absolutely. He just, obviously from a current status, Hideki has been our lead professional player, certainly a Japanese, a native, and he's been with the company again for a long time. And him and Graham McDowell are our 1-2 punch out there. From a faces that people recognize. But yeah, Shane Lowery he just jumped the shark on this one. He's gone to the head of the bus, and I think we'll start seeing something. He'll show and talk about his product. He's been a loyal player for a number of years, so it's not like, this is something that we just happen to latch onto. He's been with us for the right reasons, and that's trusting our products, trusting with his game and his career. I gotta tell you the story. If you didn't know this about Shane Lowery a year ago, he told the story that he was at the British Open in the parking lot at the conclusion of last year's British Open, literally crying. And as he said, golf was not his friend. He didn't know where his game was going, if he had enough game to compete at this level. And for him to sit there a year later and to be holding the claret jug it gives my hairs on the back of my neck to stand up. It's an amazing story that he could be at that depth personally about his golf game. I don't remember what he shot. It doesn't matter. He had that internal, feeling of how his game was or where it wasn't at that point, and didn't know what was ahead of him. And here it is a year later. He's now a major champion, and certainly in his world, the European players' world, it's the best event for them to win as a major. That's just the British, the Open Championship is that. So that was great.
What a story.
Yeah, pretty neat. So So we're excited as a company. We get to, and it's the last one of the season. So no, we got to all wait until April. So we got the floor. We get the last one. So,
yeah.
So we use that.
You get to bask in that glory, right? For what? Another 8 months?
We get to. Absolutely. It's the long haul. So until we get through this, as I was telling Matthew on the show, the silly season, and he chuckled. I had a little rant about this silly season called the Tour Championship and squeezing 4 major championships into 115 days. And I think, we'll talk about that maybe a little later, but I think that was, it's going to be a mistake. It's going to be a mistake just from for me, from an ongoing viewership, to condense the season. You saw what happened. We didn't see Tiger Woods play. He played, if you want to know this fact, in those 115 days, guess how many rounds, competitive rounds he played that you and I and the world got to watch after he won the green jacket?
6?
12 competitive rounds. That's in 115 days. That's a travesty. I mean, that is I don't know if Tiger was harboring a minor issue. He's trying to conserve, and be, but he wasn't prepared. He couldn't prepare, and the condensed schedule cost him some preparation time. And also playing they played in the Memorial. So it really hurt that part, which should have been a great story to the 2019 season with him winning the Masters out of the gate. I mean, it couldn't have gotten off to a better start, from publicity, TV. And then the TV people, they didn't get to see Tiger very much at all this year at all. So I think it was a dud, quite frankly.
Yeah, and that is sort of the theme for the show tonight, Perry. And I want to get back to some of the Srixon stuff here in a minute. But to your point, right, here we are. It's the FedEx Cup playoffs. We've got, 2 tournaments and then the Tour Championship. But now that typically in seasons past, well, once you get past the last, what used to be the PGA Championship at the end of the season, now the Open Championship, we start to check out, right? I mean, the football season's starting, and now we're starting to get ramped up, and our attention gets diverted to that. So I was curious to get your thoughts on the playoff system. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or is really most golf fans said, okay, Open Championship's over, I'm on to football? Yeah,
I don't think it's from a viewership. People are going to tune in. It is August. It's football season is a month away. We're in camps and all that. No biggie. I think the true golf fan, myself, yourself, that are going to follow golf through the long haul. The condensing the schedule doesn't do us any favors, quite frankly. I think from a viewership standpoint, I don't have a problem that the month of August, the third week in August, was the PGA Championship to kind of get the last player spot for the Ryder Cup, which is obviously going to be in September when it's in the States. Kind of get that. There's a lot of interest in that. Do people watch the Ryder Cup in September, Chris? Yeah, I think they do.
I think
right?
they do.
Yeah. So why is it you don't want to be televising some of your most important events in September? There's a lot of golf being played across the entire country, from north to south, east to west. It's one of the longest periods of golf because of the seasons are going on. And just because football's in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, it's not going to affect that viewership. It is going to affect the quality of play in the fields of play that we get to watch on a regular basis. And that is what I think is going to be the drawback to this season. The fact that they've condensed the Tour Championship to 3 events, I think that's fine. That's all you need. It should be a very, sprint to the finish, right? You've already been playing all year to jockey for your position, so we don't need 4 events. And most of the guys were skipping one anyhow, right? Certainly the top of the heap were. So I think this is fine. Condensing the schedule on this end for the Tour Championship, it still should be in September. And I'm going to stick with that one, and I'm not going to let that get that one get away. So I just think we should be back to the whole way. I don't like this event, as you can tell. I don't like the PGA being in May.
So you mentioned the silly season, right? And when I think of historically the golf silly season, that was towards the end of the year when we had the Skins game and the Shark Shootout and those sorts of things. That to me was silly season. Now I think it's sort of taken a different definition because we've got all these sort of, because the PGA Tour, as soon as the Tour Championship's over, season starts again. So now we've got all these other events that nobody plays in. Is that the silly season now?
Yeah, exactly. Matthew and I call it the never-ending season of golf. That is, the silly season starts in the fall. That's when people really don't care. Okay, there's the fields are. And listen, if you're a PGA Tour player it's an important event. We know guys are out there if it's their hunt for a living and they have a chance to win an event in a very, reduced quality of field where these, players in the 75 to 150, on the PGA Tour standings have a chance to win because you don't have many of the top 50 players in the world there. And that's, good for them. But from a viewership standpoint, it's on the low end of the totem pole. So it's silly. They're going to play a couple of events just because they're trying to keep that, keep that interest and also keep these tour players, keep them happy. They play for what they win. So if they don't have an event to play in, they're not earning any money, So, again, I call it the silly season because really, like any good sports category, you need to take some time off for people to recharge their batteries, get reinterested and reset the game, for the next season. And rolling it into a fall couple, 3 events is just, it's just minutia. Doesn't really do anything for me. So,
with ya. Yeah.
I don't want to talk. I love golf. I just don't think it's not quality golf at that level. And listen,
right.
The guys who are trying to get their tour cards, the guys in the Corn Ferry Tour, absolutely. You need to be playing. Because you're not on the PGA Tour. You've got to keep all the opportunities you can to make a living, make some money, get some experience. But if you're holding the PGA Tour card, take a couple months off, be with your family, rest your mind, and get ready for the real season, which should kick off with the tour tournament champions in January. So,
Perry, I want to go back to the Srixon brand. Right?
Yeah.
You guys have had a resurgence by Hideki Matsuyama started to play good golf again. Keegan Bradley has come back from the dead. Our friend Zach Sucher had a tie for second a couple of weeks ago at the Travelers Championship. Jerry Kelly having a great season out on the Champions Tour. I don't think enough people realize how good the players are and how good the product is from all 3 brands that you're a manager of. But let's talk about Srixon and the really good year you guys have actually put together.
No, it's been a phenomenal year, and you're right on with mentioning a couple of really strong performances by a lot of our staff players on all the tours. Not to mention we had our girl from Australia win the KPGA the PGA Women's Championship. So that's a major win. We've had 2 major wins at that category and a lot of wins on tour. It's been a strong year for us, and the golf ball continues to lead the brand. It's certainly where Srixon Golf has been, a leader in technology. We hold the most worldwide patents in golf ball design. It's a company that's over almost 100 years old now. It's been in the business of making top quality golf products for as long, if not longer, and holds more worldwide patents than Titleist. So for most people, they don't know that because they know Titleist here in the States, and rightly so. Titleist is, has the brand market share and stuff in the States. But when we bring the whole world into play, they don't really quite hold the candle to what Srixon's done over the years of developing and bringing product to market for a longer period of time. So it's a neat story, and we're having some success, and it's fun to see, the guys and the gals who trust our product putting some wins on the boards. And you're right. It's not just, it's not just 1 or 2 players, our star players, but a Keegan Bradley coming back playing well. And again, Shane Lowery, great win that, Shane was having a better season. He had a couple close tries early in the season, so he was able to piece it all together and put a win on the board. And so it's been a great year for the golf ball product on tour.
Perry, speaking of the Srixon golf balls, and I'm a big fan of the yellow Z-Star. It's one of my favorite golf balls. And you guys actually have a wonderful golf ball fitting section on Srixon.com. Talk about how our listeners can go out there and figure out which Srixon ball is actually best suited for their game.
Yeah, certainly. That's a great question. And there's a lot of product out there in the golf ball market, and a lot of product that's comparable, if you will, from brand to brand. But when you're going to buy a brand specifically within that brand, you're going to find the micro brands of golf balls that really, not just from a price difference, but really a performance and technology story that really can make a difference in how to improve your game, improve some of your results that you may not even think about. But remember, the golf ball is the most important piece of equipment you play because it's on every shot. Okay? You're using the golf ball on every swing. Every ball is hit by the club. It's the golf ball first. So the key thing that most people have to figure out is, what is your speed? How hard are you striking the golf ball? That's the first criteria to match the compression of the golf ball, or what is the core. And the core is the engine of the golf ball, and that's where players need to get a golf ball that has the right core design to maximize the launch of the ball and the speed of the ball to create maximum performance and distance. And for most players who are somewhere in that 0 or 80 to 90 miles an hour club head speed, our lower compression golf balls like Soft Feel and Q-Star are going to be a great fit for those players. They're a little more durable with their cover design, so they don't spin as much around the green, but they also don't spin as much on your miss-hit and on your full swing shots. And that's a good thing for most players in that category. As you jump up a skill level, you move to Q-Star Tour for players who are not quite the high club head speed, but they want a urethane golf ball that will spin and feel around like a tour ball. Q-Star Tour delivers that ball, a little lower compression than the Z-Star and the XV, but it also provides that feel and maximizes, again, launch and speed. And up to the top of the chain with the Z-Star, a different golf ball than XV because it's a 3-piece construction versus the 4. The 3-piece construction delivers a little bit more spin, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a little more spin to hold the trajectory and let the player work the ball a little bit more for players who don't spin it and have high club head speeds. The XV is for players who have high club head speeds and have a lot of spin, and they want to reduce spin. So these are all combinations. When guys want to test product, they got to figure out how the ball flies when they hit that stinger, 4-iron, or hit that low punch wedge. You know, they need to know what the ball is doing, whether it's rising on them or when it lands, is it grabbing. So most of us, even good players, don't spin the ball a tremendous amount when it lands on the green. So most of us should play a golf ball that's helping keep its flight in the air, maximizing its distance, and holding a trajectory that we can learn to understand and control our ball flight from. If we do that, the ball's going to curve a lot less. And I don't know about you, but I hit the ball, my ball curves a lot less, I play a lot better. So yeah, that's just the way it goes. So that's a real quick synopsis of the Soft Feel Q-Star, and then of course Q-Star Tour and Z-Star balls that give players some variance based on speed and skill. And the rest of it, the pricing is different based on the design, but from a performance standpoint, just because you're paying $20 for a dozen Soft Feel doesn't mean it's the wrong ball for you because it's a lower price. It may be a perfect ball based on your skill and your speed. So that's the beauty of our line. We touched some price points, but we also touched the player skill levels. And of course you forgot to mention our premium ball in the XXIO brand
That's right.
Enjoy some XXIO golf balls. And XXIO brand is basically taking that speed technology that is maximizing speed for the slower cut head speed players, utilizing a golf ball again helps the launch conditions, and those are the factors that make your driving distance maximize in mine. It's getting able to maximize the speed that it leaves the club face at the proper launch angle with the proper amount of spin. And when you can get those three things lined up, you're going to hit the ball better. And most people are missing some of those 3 elements I just described. Their spin's too much, their launch is too low, or their speed's not enough. So when you're struggling in one of those 3 categories, you need to help improve that. And a golf ball there is a difference. And it's not just because one's $100, $50 a dozen, and one's $20 a dozen. It's how it's designed.
So Perry, when can I get this XXIO balls in yellow?
That's a great question. I don't know if that gold paint and Thailand paint still will show up very good on the yellow golf ball. So, you can't see the luster of that golf ball. It's got to be. I show people that golf ball, they go, "Wow, what is this?" And I say, "Well, it's really a good golf ball for your game, but it also has a look you haven't ever seen in a golf ball, as you could probably attest to." So, yeah, I don't think it's coming in yellow, but it may. The yellow golf ball is definitely continuing to be in favor with more and more players switching to a yellow golf ball for visibility and it doesn't perform any difference. It's easier to see and easier to find in the grass. So, yep, it's a neat product.
Perry, one more before I let you go. And we talk a lot about the short game on this show. Yeah. My good friend Tom Patry beats into my head all the time. Short game, short game, short game. Cleveland wedges, some of the best on the market. The RTX wedges are fantastic. Talk about, those wedges and how they can help us from even, like we talk about 100 yards in all the time. How can I take 3 shots or 4 shots and turn it into 2 with those wedges?
Well, you're going to get the man, Mr. Patry, afterward to really help take that to the next level. But that is the key. We have studied 65% of your shots during a round of play come from inside of 125 yards. Just take a quick think about that. 65% of your shots. So if you're shooting 90, you're hitting 60 shots, or about 62 shots from that inside of 125 yards. So that's pretty much for most players some type of wedge. It may be a pitching wedge at 46 degrees, and it may be all the way, down to just a full lob wedge, right? So there's variance in lofts that are a key ingredient to match up with your sets. That's one thing that we offer. The other thing that's probably more important than just the lofts, availability of lofts, is the type of wedge design. So you mentioned RTX4, blade, tour model, tour design, tour player driven by specs and performance to maximize their feedback and feel and what they expect from a wedge to manage and control their distance. That's what really wedge play is all about, being able to control your distance. Like I jokingly say, you don't want to hit a 50-yard wedge shot when you need 30 yards. That's not a good thing, okay? you want to be able to hit a 30-yard wedge shot to 30 yards, 32. You want to be very close. So, and that's what most people struggle with at the instruction piece of the puzzle. It's not that they've chosen the wrong wedge for the distance, that they've chosen they're not properly set up in the way to execute the shot. So, and that's something for Tom to get into too with you, but that's what we teach a lot in our wedge classes, how to grab distance control and utilize your wedges to make that happen. If you need a lob or more trajectory, you should use your highest lofted wedge. That may be a 56 for some, that may be a 60 for others. Again, depending on your skill level and your comfort of what you're used to using. But both will deliver that. You can make that happen. The key thing too is when you're talking about switching over to the CVX2, the new CVX that's now getting ready to launch, we had CVX for the last 2 years, and this is a wedge designed with cavity back performance for players who play cavity back irons. Who doesn't play a cavity back iron out there? Most non-tour professionals do, right? So why are you playing a blade wedge if you're playing a cavity back iron? Well, the cavity back iron delivers three things. It delivers forgiveness. It delivers proper bounce into the turf because it's got more bounce than most tour wedges have. And number three, it gives forgiveness. I said that twice. Okay, most players need forgiveness on their wedges, whether they're hitting a 15-yard shot or a 100-yard shot. You don't want your 100-yard shot to fall to 93 yards. You want to go 97. And that's what a cavity back wedge does versus a tour wedge. It keeps the distance much closer to the way you struck it. Now, if you miss hit it, you miss hit it. But I'm talking about something that's pretty close to your best swing, but not your best swing. And that's where a cavity back wedge design helps most players. And then we have the Smart Soul chipper and sand wedge, or what is a 58-degree lob wedge, for the player who just is maybe a beginner golfer or just not very comfortable with wedges in general. It's a wide sole designed to maximize what is the bounce opportunity to keep the club from digging extremely. So if you're a steep player or a player who just struggles out of the bunker, those two products, the Smart Soul wedge will help out of the bunker, and the Smart Soul chipper will help around the green for chipping and putting, or chipping and running shots around the green. So we have wedges for all player types. That's the beauty of our wedge line. It's not just for one specific player and say, here, I know you like the Cleveland wedge, but if you're not good enough, you can't play this. We have wedges to fit your game. And just like we do with the golf ball, there's the criteria we use to try to fit your game and maximize your performance. And like you said, you can knock 3 to 5 shots off your game in that zone of play if you have the right tools in your bag. And that means maybe having 2 or 3 wedges instead of 1. That means learning a little more skill about how to keep, where to play your wedges, not, where is the place you want to miss it? What is the yardage that you can maximum swing this club and not get in trouble? I see a lot of players struggling with wedges because they may pull the right wedge out of their bag, but they're not committed to the shot because they say, well, I was afraid of going over the green. Well, if you were afraid of going over the green in your mind, why were you using that lofted wedge? Go to the higher lofted wedge and hit it full. Don't try to decelerate unless you're really skilled. You need to learn how to choke down or just go ahead and hit the full swing shot. Players make that mistake commonly. They get in the shot and, I was afraid of going over the green. Well, it's hard to be committed when you're worried about the miss before you ever hit the shot. So that's one of the common mistakes a lot of players make, just in that easy to remedy, nothing instruction based, but more about the choice and commitment to the shot. And if players can, kind of stay in that mode and not find themselves trying to, I want to say, manipulate the yardage, but get to a yard and say, look, I can hit my wedge 70 yards. Well, when your laser shoots you and you got 78 yards to the pin, don't try to hit your longer wedge and feather it in there with 8 yards. Go ahead and hit your full wedge 70 yards and take your 10 or 15 footer and go on to the next hole. don't get yourself in trouble by trying to do something you're not comfortable doing. So that would be my quick wedge tip to try to keep players, in their best chance for success, to not give away shots, because most people miss the green with a wedge, a chip and 2-putt, or hit it so far from the pin they 3-putt. That's giving away shots.
And I'll tell you what, Perry, that's great advice, and that's something that we talked about last week here on the show. And so for all of us that are weekend players, right? We're not out there playing 3 or 4 times a week. We're
Sure.
way in the double digits in our handicap. One of the things that I think that we make mistake strategically is we're shooting at the pin, right? And there's all kinds of different yards, right? The next thing you know, we're coming up way short because we hit it a little fast. We're coming up way long because we thinned it a little bit. Instead of one of the strategies we talked about is go for the middle of the green. Forget about the pin.
No question.
Go for the middle of the green and then 2-putt and go on to the next hole.
Exactly. And a lot of times, as you and I know you haven't played enough golf, a lot of times you're playing for the center of the green and you push or pull the shot and it goes towards the pin. So, you actually missed the shot a little bit, but it actually comes out like you were hitting up the flag. But you're right. If there's trouble to the right, and the pin's on the right side of the green, aim center. And if you happen to hit it 20 feet, take your chance of making the 20-footer. And in that worst case, 2-putt and go on to the next. But if you miss that right into the bunker, or if it's a hazard over there, you're making double or triple bogey. So those are again cautionary plays, much like choosing to make sure that the distance you're going is to make that full swing, commit to it, and not be trying to jimmy your swing in the middle and try to throttle it back or overswing and try to hit it too far. Just make a comfortable swing and be satisfied with the 15-footer. And if you get greedy, most people, you're going to get in trouble when you start getting a little too greedy. But that's great advice.
Perry, remind our listeners before I let you go how they can stay up to date with all the great things that you and the brand are both doing, whether it's online or it's on social media.
Well, certainly, our 3 websites, Srixon.com and ClevelandGolf.com and XXIO.USA.com are the 3 names for product stories and product information, all the details from all the specs and all that. Each of the 3 brands are on there, and in all our social media platforms from Facebook to Twitter. Yeah, we've got them on all the tours. We have all that we follow. Each of the tour has a specific to the European, the PGA Tour, the Women's Tour. So yeah, whatever player level you are, whoever you want to follow, click on there and catch some information about what our Srixon staffers are doing and how they're performing. So yeah, lots of ways to get in the loop.
Well, Perry, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of this show with me. I hope you'll continue to come back from time to time, share your stories and your insights with us. And you're always a joy to have part of the show. And I always love listening to you and Matthew on Sunday mornings. I'm there religiously listening to you guys because you're fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, it's my pleasure, Chris. Appreciate you having me on, and look forward to getting back with you sometime soon.
Thank you, Perry. Say hi to Matthew for me on Sunday, and I'll, like I say, I'll be listening in.
Will do. Appreciate it.
Take care, Perry. Thank you. That is Perry French. Again, Srixon, Cleveland Golf, XXIO Golf, and XXIO, XXIO, XXIO. And as Perry mentioned, I tell you what, the XXIO golf ball, and we talked about this back in the early part of the year. Most beautiful golf ball you'll ever look at. A little gold flecks in there in the cover. It's a very unique thing. It's a pretty thing. Matthew always talks about how he gets them and doesn't want to hit them because they're too pretty to hit, and he won't let any of his friends even hold the golf ball and just show it to them. It's a great looking golf ball, and it's a great performing golf ball. I went out and used them this past year on my buddy's trip. But and I'm also a very big fan of the yellow Z-Star as well. So Perry French, great guest, great guy. Listen to him with Matthew Lawrence on Backspin Golf every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time on WLXG.com or the WLXG app. And look forward to getting Perry